Excited for camp? Oh, come on, that felt a little lame. Who's excited for camp? All right, if you are interested in going to camp, you got a little card on your chair. You can sign up online for camp. I want to see every single person in this room go to camp because I guarantee you it will be the best week of your life. You believe me? No, 2 people believe me. 2 people believe me. Hey, tonight is a good night to be in church. Are you excited you're here tonight? NH Youth family, hey, listen, Wednesday nights are an opportunity to come together with your family, the NH Youth family, and have an encounter with Jesus that changes everything. If this is your first time here, I want to let you know something. We believe that Jesus is exactly who he said he was. We believe that he was dead but is now alive, and you ain't never seen somebody like that before. And we believe that Jesus, because he's alive today, he can continue to make a difference in our lives right now in this moment if we would choose to have a relationship with him. So Wednesday nights are the best nights of the week because as a family, we get to have an encounter with Jesus. So who's excited to be at church tonight? Wednesday nights are the best nights of the week. Come on. Hey, tonight we're going to read one of the most famous stories from the Bible. Even people who don't believe in Jesus, even people who don't follow Jesus, even people who don't come to church, they've heard this story before because it's one of Jesus' most famous miracles, and that is the miracle of him feeding 5,000 people. And so if you have your Bible or you have your Bible app, you can turn to Mark chapter 6, and we're going to read verses 33 through 44. Before I get there, while you're turning to Mark chapter 6, verses 33 through 44, I'm going to tell you what's been happening. There's these 12 dudes, technically 13. Jesus is one of them. But Jesus has 12 best friends called the disciples. And Jesus' disciples, Jesus' friends, they were following him everywhere. For approximately 3 years of Jesus' life, the disciples went everywhere Jesus went, and they also went to different places that Jesus told them to go. And right before we get to this part in Mark chapter 6, Jesus sends the 12 disciples, his 12 best friends, to go out into their communities and begin to do things that people had never seen, begin to do miracles, begin to tell them that the kingdom of heaven was near, that they could have a relationship with the God that they had heard about their entire lives. And so when we get to Mark chapter 6, Jesus' 12 best friends are coming back to him, and they're getting ready to go on another trip with Jesus, but they're tired and they're hungry, okay? So they get in a boat, and they get ready to cross the other side, and Jesus says to them, let's go off by ourselves to a quiet place and rest a while. And he said, so we're going to go off to a place by ourselves and we're going to rest a while. But then a crowd of people who had heard about Jesus decided, we want to follow Jesus. We want to go see this Jesus guy that we've been hearing about. And that's where we're going to pick up the story in verse 33. It says, many people recognized them and saw them leaving, and people from many towns ran ahead along the shore and got there ahead of them. Literally, this is crazy. This is a mob, man. Jesus is in the boat with his disciples. They're on their way to a different place, and these people are sprinting along the beach, right? Talk about a romantic long walk on the beach. Jesus is just trying to get away. But the crowd is following him. They're running along the beach trying to catch up, and they got there ahead of them. So Jesus saw the huge crowd as he stepped from the boat. And he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And so he began teaching them many things. They were like sheep without a shepherd. They were like sheep without a shepherd. Because we are called to be sheep who follow a shepherd. And so Jesus in that moment said, I will be their shepherd. And so he began to teach them many things. And late in the afternoon, his disciples came to him and said, this is a remote place. Everybody say remote place. This is a remote place, and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to nearby farms and villages and buy something to eat. But Jesus said, you feed them. Say, but Jesus said. Oh, come on. But Jesus said. Hey, it's not a crime to talk back to me. I want to hear what you have to say. Also, it's not a crime to write or highlight your Bible. And whenever you see a sentence that says, but Jesus said, you probably need to pay attention to what he's about to say. So Jesus said, you feed them. You feed them. And his 12 best friends who have been ministering, who have been telling people the story about Jesus, who have been performing miracles, who have been laying hands on people and healing them, who have been out doing their own thing. They're tired. They themselves are hungry. They look back at Jesus and said, with what? With what? They asked. We'd have to work for months to earn enough money to buy food for all of these people. With what do you want us to feed them? With what? So Jesus said to them, how much bread do you have? He asked. Go and find out. How much bread do you have? Go and find out. They came back and reported, we have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Everybody say 5 loaves, 2 fish. Then Jesus told the disciples to have the people sit down in groups on green grass. So they sat down in groups of 50 or 100. And Jesus took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and he looked up toward heaven. He blessed them, and then breaking the loaves into pieces, he kept giving the bread to the disciples so they could distribute it to the people. He also divided the fish for everyone to eat. For everyone to share. They ate as much as they wanted. And afterward, the disciples picked up 12 baskets of leftover bread and fish. A total of 5,000 men and their families were fed that day. 5,000 men and their families were fed that day. My main point tonight is very simple, and it is this. Put it in Jesus' hands. Put it in Jesus' hands. Have you ever thought to yourself, what I have is insignificant? What I have is not enough. Or maybe you've even thought to yourself, I am insignificant. I cannot make a difference. The cards I've been dealt in life, it's insignificant. My life is insignificant. I am insignificant. I'm not smart enough. I'm not cool enough. I don't talk good enough. I'm awkward. I say the wrong things at the wrong times. I'm unusable because I'm insignificant. Maybe you've ever thought that. Every single one of those phrases is something I've said to myself. Especially on nights like tonight. I don't know where you sit tonight. I don't know if you gave tonight, but especially on nights like tonight where we have a big give night and people all around us are doing what seems to be these big, extraordinary things to make a difference. And we're sitting here looking around like, I'm not them. I will never be them. And I'll never be able to do what they can do. Have you ever thought, I'm too insignificant to make a difference? My life is too insignificant to make a difference. What I have is too insignificant to make a difference. Friends, I've been there. I've sat in your shoes. And we tend to build this false narrative of who we are and what we have because we're constantly comparing ourselves to the people around us. We're constantly comparing our lives to the people on Instagram. We're constantly comparing what we have to what we see our friends have when we go to their houses. Here's the truth for you tonight. Comparison kills calling. Comparison kills calling. Jesus has placed a divine call on every single one of us, and that is to go and make a difference in the world around us. And he promised us in his word that he would give us exactly what we need to do the job. But every time we compare ourselves with the people around us, we are getting farther and farther away from the person God has created us to be. Though we all have the same calling on our lives, the execution of the calling is and will be unique and different for all of us. You and I have the same calling. You and I have been called to go into the world, to reach lost people, to give so that people all across this world can hear the gospel, can hear the story of Jesus Christ, and their lives can be changed. All of us have been called to do whatever we can do, to do whatever it takes to reach lost people. But the way you reach lost people and the way I reach lost people will be very different. Why? Because I am not you and you are not me. So because we are not the same person, we cannot continue to compare ourselves to each other, and we cannot compare the gifts that God has given to each of us. God has uniquely given us what we need to reach the people that we are uniquely going to come into contact with. Friends, let me tell you something. I've told y'all trailer park stories before, but there ain't a single person in this place that would have survived my trailer park. Why? Because God did not gift you what you needed to reach my trailer park when I was there, because he gifted me to reach my friends. Just like I cannot walk into your school, I cannot walk into your situation and make a difference in the lives of your friends the way that you've been called to make a difference. Because you've been uniquely gifted by God. You have a purpose. You have an identity. You have the same calling that I have, but you will execute it differently. But every time you compare the way you reach your friends to the way that I reached mine, friends, you will always lose your calling. Comparison kills calling. The more you compare what you have and who you are to someone else, the farther away you are getting from the person God has created you to be. And for those of you in this place that already have a relationship with Jesus, let me tell you the truth. He has called you, and he has given you a unique and specific purpose that wasn't meant to look like your friends. Your life was always and only meant to look like your life. Your purpose is your purpose. We're all in this together, and we all have the same end goal to reach lost people, but how we execute God's plan will look different for each of us. All you need to do is trust that Jesus knows best, and if you follow him, you will follow him into the best life you could ever live. Friends, here's another truth for you tonight. If you're taking notes, it's not on your note sheet, so write it down. But you will never follow Jesus to a place that you aren't supposed to be. If you find yourself in a place that you were never supposed to be, if you find yourself in a place that you were never meant to be, that means that you've stopped following Jesus. Because you will never follow Jesus to a place that you aren't supposed to be. Jesus will take you exactly to the places you need to go. And it may be different than what you thought it was going to be, and it may be different than where your friends are going. And you cannot compare your purpose. You cannot compare the path that God has laid out for you to anybody else's, because you'll start to think you're going the wrong way when you're not. You just might be going to two different locations, but you're still executing the same calling that God has placed on all of our lives. Comparison kills calling. And so the people in our story, the crowd, they had a need. They had a need. And the disciples recognized the problem, and they decided that they needed to do something about it. But see, their solution wasn't Jesus' solution. Friends, sometimes we see a problem and we want to solve it. But God's solutions to problems aren't the same as our solutions to problems. And intentions are good, but actions without Jesus will kill good intentions. You might have the best intentions to solve the problem, and you might do whatever it takes for you to solve the problem, but if you've gone about it trying to solve the problem without Jesus behind you, you've done it wrong. The disciples were not wrong. There was not enough food there for everybody to eat. The right decision, the logical decision, was to send everybody home, to send everybody into the nearby villages and farms so that they could buy their own food and feed themselves. Because the last thing we want to do is bring people to church to starve. Hashtag walking tacos. That is the logical decision. The disciples were not wrong. The problem is the disciples didn't consult Jesus before they were trying to solve the problem. They said, well, here, Jesus, here's the problem, and here's my solution. But Jesus says, no, I got a different plan. No, I've got a different plan. Because even though we might have good intentions, actions without Jesus kills good intentions. Good intentions will not get us to where God is calling us to be. Surrender to him will. The people needed food. The disciples said they need to leave so that they can go get food. But Jesus said they don't need to go anywhere. You can feed them. And here's another point. Jesus saw what they couldn't see, and that was the miracle that he had in mind. Jesus saw what they couldn't see, and that was the miracle that Jesus had in mind. You see, the disciples are looking around them, and they start trying to make decisions based only on what they could see with their own physical eyes. This is a remote place. Other translations of the Bible call this a desolate place. That means it was absent, it was void of things. This is a remote place, and that's all the disciples can see. It's all that they could physically see around them. But what is remote and desolate to us is an opportunity for Jesus to do what only he can do. What seems desolate to us is plenty for Jesus. What seems desolate to us is plenty for Jesus. And look at it. The disciples said, this place is too remote and desolate to sustain these people. We need to send them home. But Jesus says, sit them down on green grass. Green grass symbolizes life. And for Jesus, their location did not determine whether or not he could do a miracle. For Jesus, he said, when you see a remote place, I see the miracle I'm about to perform. What you see here is remote and it's desolate, but what I see is what I'm about to do, and this is about to become a place of abundance. Your location does not determine your miracle. Your response to Jesus does. Your location does not determine your miracle. Your response to Jesus does. There are people in this place tonight who need to have a radical encounter with the creator of the world, with the King of Kings, with the miracle worker. And I'm telling you tonight, you might be in the darkest place that you've ever been in your entire life. You might be in a hopeless situation, but your location will not determine your miracle. Your response to Jesus will. It all depends on how you respond. It all depends on how you respond to Jesus. And I'm going to ask in just a few moments that every person in this place respond to Jesus. How you need to. How you see fit for your life. So get ready. This is a remote place. There's nothing here. The disciples are saying we need to send the people away. But Jesus looks them in the face and says, you feed them. You feed them. And they say, with what? And that's when Jesus says, bring me what you have. Bring me what you have. They found 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, and they come back to Jesus and they said, this isn't enough. This is all we have. And he says, just put it in my hands. Just put it in my hands. When you put what you have in Jesus' hands, he takes what we think is insignificant and makes it miraculous. When you put what you have in Jesus' hands, he takes what we think is insignificant and makes it miraculous. Worship team, you can come. Friends, here in America, when we hear the term 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, we're probably thinking of store-bought loaves of bread with 13 slices or 14 slices, whatever it is. And we're probably thinking of a decent-sized fish. But when you dive into the history and the culture surrounding what this is, when they said 5 loaves and 2 fish, what they really meant were 5 barley crackers, which were slightly bigger than Ritz crackers. And when they're talking about fish, they're not talking about walleye. They're talking about sardines. And so they're sitting there with these 5 loaves and 2 fish, looking at all the people, looking back at Jesus and saying, Jesus, this ain't even going to feed us, let alone these people. But when you put what you have in Jesus' hands, he takes what we think is insignificant and makes it miraculous. The question is, what do you have? What do you have? Friends, I want you to recognize something tonight. You are not limited by what you don't have. You are limited by what you have that you are not using. You're not limited by what you don't have. You're just limited by what you have that you're not placing in Jesus' hands. Jesus didn't ask the disciples to come up with something that wasn't already there. He told them to go find what was already there and bring it to him and put it in his hands. Friend, Jesus isn't asking you to bring him what you don't have. He's asking you to bring him what you have, and what you have is your life. What you have is your life. And we sometimes get in this mode of self-talk. Jesus, what I have isn't much. I'm insignificant. I'm nothing special. I'm not like my friends. I'm not like the people that culture says are the bigwigs, the movers and shakers, the culture creators. I'm not one of those people. Jesus, I'm not that great. But Jesus says, give me your life. Put yourself in my hands and watch what I do. Give me some time to work and then take a look at who you are. Because what you deem insignificant, Jesus will make miraculous. Tonight, I'm telling you, what you have is enough for Jesus to do a miracle. Your life is enough for Jesus to do a miracle. All you have to do is put it in his hands. All you have to do is put it in his hands. I want to tell you a story about me, because this is my life. When I was in middle school in Ankeny, Iowa, my dad's here. I don't even think I ever told him this story. When I was in middle school in Ankeny, Iowa, used to be a school called Parkview. I don't know if it exists anymore. Probably not in the same building it used to, but when I was in Parkview Middle School, I got called down to the office. And I walked into the office, and the ladies in the office were like, August, what are you doing here? I'm like, y'all call me. What are you asking me for? I was a frequent flyer in that office. And I said, you call me down. Well, I don't know. What do you mean? Why are you asking me why I'm here? And they're kind of looking at each other like, we didn't call you down. And at that moment, a guidance counselor had come around the corner, and she said, I called him down. August, you can come have a seat in my office. We need to talk about your future. I said, okay. And so I walked into her office. I sat down in her chair. And at that moment, she began to rattle off my grades. August, you're failing this class. August, you're failing this class. August, you're doing decently well in foods class. But you're failing this class and you're failing this class. I said, okay. And she said, here's why we're having this conversation now, because I don't want to waste my time on you later. Statistics tell me that the neighborhood you're growing up in isn't going to send anybody anywhere. And that day, she proceeded to look me in my face and said, this is Ankeny, but you live in the trailer park. And because you live in the trailer park, your life is pretty much insignificant and worthless. She told me that I would most likely end up dropping out of school and living a life of crime, because that's what trailer kids did before me. They dropped out of school. They ended up in jail. I can rattle their names off. I knew all of them pretty well. And so that day, she looked me in my eyes and she said, I'm not going to waste my time worrying about you, because statistics show that the people who come from your neighborhood are insignificant and not worth the amount of work that she would have to put into me. And because that day, this is the reason why she brought me in, we were getting ready to do counseling sessions for the next school year to plan out our schedule. And she said, so you don't even need to worry about coming into my office. Don't take a time slot. Don't waste my time. That's what she said. And that day, I remember that day so well. I'm 28 years old. This is over 10 years ago. But I remember that day so well because it was the day that I began to believe the lie that she sold me. I began to tell myself, you know what, she's right. I am a no good, dirty, rotten trailer kid. Everybody who come through before me, that she's right. They're in jail. I'm insignificant. I'm worthless. My life doesn't matter. My future doesn't matter because I don't have one. I began to believe that. And I began to act like I believed it. People would ask me, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when you graduate high school? I said, well, first of all, I'm probably not going to graduate high school. Well, what are you going to do with your life? No, I don't know. It don't matter anyway. And then I came to a church service. And I don't even know what the pastor was talking about. All I know is that Jesus started talking to me. And I had an encounter with this man named Jesus. And he started talking to me. And he said, August, I don't want to hear anything that you have to say about yourself because I created you. I know what I created you for. I know the purpose that I placed in your life. I know what your true identity is. So don't tell me about yourself. Just bring me your life. And he began to say to me, August, I have chosen you. I have given you a voice. I have a plan and a purpose for your life. All you have to do is put what you have in my hands, and I will work it all out for you. And I'm standing on this platform tonight to tell you that if a trailer kid from Ankeny, Iowa, who was told that they're insignificant, that their life doesn't matter, can be on this platform in front of all of you friends, just imagine what you could do if you would place your hands and your life in Jesus' hands. Just imagine what your life would look like if you would surrender to Jesus. Tonight, once again, the question is, what do you have that you need to put into Jesus' hands? And some of you who are here tonight, you need to have an encounter with Jesus for the very first time. So this is what I want. Right now in this moment, I want everybody to stand to their feet. And after you stand, you don't need to talk to your friends. I'm asking you to just bow your heads and close your eyes. While you're standing, just bow your heads and close your eyes. There's some people here tonight that need to put their life in Jesus' hands for the very first time. You need to hear him say that your life is not insignificant. You matter. I have a plan for your life. I have a purpose for your life. I have chosen you right now at this moment. All you need to do is surrender your life to me. And so if you're here and you need to put your life into Jesus' hands tonight as an act of surrender to him, I'm going to challenge you to come down to this altar. I'm going to challenge you in just a moment to come down to the front. If you need to hear Jesus say those words over you, I'm going to challenge you to step out of your seat, to step out of your comfort zone here in just a moment and come down to the front and surrender to Jesus and put your life in his hands. I know that people will see you because eventually I'm going to ask them to open their eyes up again. I know that it makes you nervous to walk down to the front. But I'm asking you to be bold and respond to Jesus tonight because your response to him will determine your miracle. The disciples could have said, no, there's nothing we can do. And no, we're not going to find out if there's any food here. We're tired. We're weary from our trip. We just want to eat and go home, Jesus. And if that's how they would have responded, they would have missed out on the miracle because their response was wrong. And Jesus tells us that if we are bold and if we stand for him and we respond to him in front of our friends, he will stand for us and respond to us in front of his Father in heaven. And he will even move heaven on our behalf just to meet us right where we are. I understand how this feels. I've been in your shoes multiple times. But this is your moment to have an encounter with Jesus. This is your moment to have an encounter with the Savior of the world, the miracle worker. This is your opportunity to experience love like you've never known before. All you have to do is respond. So if that's you tonight, when I count to 3, if you need to place your life in Jesus' hands for the first time, I'm asking you to move out of your seat and come down to the front. 1, 2, 3. Move now. Jesus. Jesus. If I have any adult leaders in this room who could come pray for my friends, would you move right now? Friends, you don't have to say some kind of eloquent prayer. All you have to say is, Jesus, I need you. Jesus, I need you in my life. Jesus, I need to know who you created me to be. Jesus, I need you. Jesus, I surrender to you in this moment. Sing that song. People in this room tonight who have a relationship with Jesus, but you still believe that your life is insignificant and that you cannot make a difference. There are some of you in this room tonight who would say, Pastor Arks, I don't need to put my life in Jesus' hands for the first time. I need to put my life in Jesus' hands for the 1,000th time. I'm still believing the lie of the enemy that I am insignificant. You think that you're not worthy enough to be used by God to change your family, to change your school, to change your workplace, to change your friends. And so if that's you tonight, I believe God is saying, come to me. Put your doubts at my feet and put your life in my hands. And let me show you who I've created you to be. And so if that describes you tonight, when I count to 3, I challenge you to respond to Jesus and physically move from where you are to the front. Not because Jesus is only available at the front. That's not true. I got saved in the sound booth. But because when we respond, when we physically respond to Jesus, it makes the devil nervous. And when we make the devil nervous, it begins to loosen his grip on our lives, and it gives Jesus the opportunity to start working and eradicate the enemy and take away our doubt. And so if you're here and you say, Pastor August, that's me. Pastor August, I have a relationship with Jesus, but I'm still believing the lie. When I count to 3, I want you to move down here. Adult leaders, when they move, you move and pray for them. 1, 2, 3. If that's you, move.
Here I am, down on my knees again, surrendering all. mercy and grace unfold. I hunger and thirst. I hunger and thirst. With arms stretched wide, I know you hear my cry. Speak to me now.
Speak to me now.
Oh, speak to me now.
I surrender.
I surrender.
When Jesus blessed the bread and the fish, he put it back into the disciples' hands so that they could give the miracle away to the people. He blessed the fish and he blessed the bread and he blessed the fish and he kept giving it to them so that they could take it to the people and give the miracle away. Question for everybody in this room tonight: what miracle is Jesus putting in your hands that you need to give away? What miracle is Jesus putting into your hands that you need to give away? Friends, he won't move you past your last step of obedience. Maybe there's a person he's been asking you to reach out to and you haven't done it, and you're frustrated because you've been asking for a move of God, or you've been asking to hear his voice and nothing is happening. Maybe nothing is happening because he asked you to do something and you never moved. Because God will not move you past his last request. He will not move you past your last step in obedience. Maybe you said, God, I'll go here. And he said, I want you to go there. And you said, I can't. He's still waiting for you to go there. And so tonight, what is it that he's asking you to do? Recognize that this miracle was all about people. A lot of times we like to focus on the little boy or the disciples, but the truth is this story is all about the crowd. This story is all about the crowd. Why? Because the crowd persisted. The crowd kept coming after Jesus. And so Jesus said, for people who are going to continue to come after me, I will work a miracle. This story is about people. Christians cannot be selfish. Jesus followers cannot be selfish. The miracle wasn't for the followers of Jesus to keep. The miracle wasn't for the disciples to keep. It was for the disciples to share. So right now, who is it in your life that you need to share Jesus with? Who is it in your life? Right now, I want everybody in this room to bow your heads and ask God to reveal the name of a person or a few people that you need to reach out to. Ask him for the power to reach out and for the opportunity to present itself. All of us have somebody in our lives that we can reach out to. So let's do it.
Jesus, breathe within. Lord, have your way. Lord, have your way in me. Like a mighty storm, stir within my soul. Lord, have your way. Lord, have your way in me.
I believe that we had a radical encounter with Jesus tonight. And I believe that Jesus has started a change in all of our lives. For those of you that responded for the very first time, I want you to find an adult before you leave this place tonight and tell them, I gave my life to Jesus for the very first time. Here's what the Bible says. In the book of Revelation, scariest book in the Bible, most Christians avoid it. It's super scary. I challenge you to read it. It's super awesome. It says in Revelation chapter 12, verse 11, talking about the enemy, talking about the devil, talking about the one who comes to lie, steal, and kill, and do all the bad things to us, the one who tries to separate us from God's presence, the enemy, talking about him. It says that the people of God, in Romans chapter 12, verse 11, the followers of Jesus defeated the enemy by the blood of the Lamb, that's Jesus, and by the word of their testimony. So you want to continue this change. You want to continue to see what happened in this room continue to happen in your life? Talk about it. The worst thing you can do is go home and be silent about what happened in this room, because your silence gives the enemy more power, but your word takes all the power out of him and gives Jesus the power in your life. So share it with somebody. Share it with your mom. Share it with your dad. Share it with your brothers, your friends, your sisters. I don't care who you share. Share it with me. I don't care. But share it with somebody and continue to talk about it. Because the more we talk about what Jesus has done, the more he's going to do. And the more powerful he'll be in our life. Let me pray for you. Dear God, thank you for everything you've done tonight. Jesus, thank you for everything that you said in this room tonight. Holy Spirit, thank you for all the ways that you moved in this room tonight. I pray that not a single one of us would walk out of here void and absent of your presence. But I pray that every single one of us in this room, from the people who responded for the very first time to the people who responded for the millionth time, God, I pray that every single one of us would have a newfound revelation from you, that every single one of us would know you love us more than you did yesterday, more than we knew the day before. God, I pray that every single one of us would leave tonight saying, I was radically changed by God. So God, I pray and I ask that you would take what happened in this place tonight, seal it in our hearts forever, and give us opportunity to share it with the people around us. Because God, every person in this world deserves to know about you. Every person in this world deserves to know what you've done. Every person in this world deserves to know how much you love them. But it starts with us. Use us, Jesus. We love you. We praise you. It's in your mighty and holy name we pray. Everybody said? Amen. Come on, everybody said? Amen. Hey, give it up for Pastor Zach as he comes.
Hey, in just a moment, I'm going to announce to you guys the total that was given tonight. Well, actually, something really cool. Anybody in here know who Pastor Weaver is? Anybody know who Pastor Weaver? Pastor Weaver heard that we were doing a big give night tonight, and he talked, and the church mission board decided they were going to match dollar for dollar what you guys gave tonight, so that we could see a difference made, water wells built, people rescued. So that you're going to hear a total tonight, and it is because New Hope as a whole, the church decided we want to match whatever the students give, because they believe in you. They believe in the difference that you guys are making. So that's something to be excited about, something that we can celebrate. But there's some of you guys in here tonight that when we gave the offering, when we brought that forward, you recognize, man, I forgot to bring it tonight. Or some of you guys, maybe you're like, man, I know God called me to give, but I just don't know if I can give it, or I just didn't step out and do it. I got something for you. This is something that NHU has never done before, but in 2 weeks, there's something all across the nation called Unconventional Give Day. And I'm challenging you right now. We're going to take a moment just to listen. I'm challenging you right now. Maybe you just gave and you're tapped out. You're like, I'm exhausted from what I just did. But maybe God's saying you got more in you. there's more that I'm calling you to. The miracle is just beginning if you just step out in this moment right now. So I'm going to give you a moment to listen, and I believe right now God's going to speak to you, and he's going to say, in 2 weeks, on May 19th, I want you to give this. I want you to do this before then. So let's just take a moment and just listen to God speak right now. Maybe God's speaking to you right now, but I challenge you as the next couple days go on, I want you to just continue to pray about that. God, what do you want me to give? God, what do you want me to do? Some of you guys had a big idea that you had last Wednesday night and you haven't been able to do that thing yet. Well, this is your chance on that night to give that so that we can see a difference made, lives changed, and the church is going to match that also. They're going to match that, and we're going to see big things happen, and that total is going to be added to the total that I'm about to announce. But I'm about to announce a total that doesn't include what you felt God just told you to give in 2 weeks. Does anyone want to know what we gave? Does anyone want to know?
I don't know, Pastor Zach.
I don't know. They don't want to know.
I don't know.
Maybe we'll
must
just
not wanna
announce
know.
it in 2 weeks.
Let's just go home.
We'll
I don't
announce
know.
it in 2 weeks.
Is there anybody here who wants to know what we gave tonight?
Well, let me tell you what. You guys gave more than $10.
10, more than $10. Pastor Zach, was it more than $15?
Oh, no.
Oh, shoot.
It was way more.
What?
It was more than $5,000.
Oh, buddy.
It was more than $10,000.
What? Pastor Zach, come on.
It was more than $20,000.
What?
Drum roll, please. NHU tonight gave $29,876.
Let's
Come on, let's celebrate. Let's party. Let's celebrate what God's doing tonight.